talk.
Oh, okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Somebody out there has a radio playing. It's really loud. Can you mute your microphone, please? John, can you mute your microphone, please? All right, backup music. Here we go. Excellent. Any more public comment?
Matt McCormick, First Township Supervisor. I'd like to ask the commissioners to please reconsider returning the built money back to the township. We have taken on a new burden since equalization has told us what's coming up next year. It's going to be an enormous cost to get things taken care of, and we need those funds, not just First Township, but all of the townships. We really need that, and I don't know, I really don't understand what the purpose was of taking the money away in the first place. Please consider.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other public comment? Okay, hearing none. Let's check this again. All right, great. Moving on to presentations. Well, we have to, oh, I'm sorry, we have to add metrics to presentations. And, Terry talked about this last week, so they're going to talk about the survey for the wages in local governments. Now we'll move on to Ron Colvin, building mechanical audit.
I'm, like I said, Ron Colvin from Brand Row Enterprises, and we are a energy efficiency contractor. We go into counties and schools and manufacturing plants and show them how to reduce their operational costs by reducing energy costs. And so we're dealing with probably 7-8 counties right now, and more courthouses. We're doing, starting out with courthouses. We go in and normally meet with a maintenance. We deal with the maintenance contractor, Dave. I guess he's tied up.
Yes.
So kind of do a walkthrough, look at things to see if there's a need for us. And in doing that with Dave, we decided that there was, more so with the mechanical side, and we'll do everything from mechanical to electrical to civil to architectural, depending on what the county needs, to repairing the, antique clocks. And we're doing on 2 of the courthouses that are historical. Stripe the parking lot, it doesn't matter. So we act as, we come in, we decide we do a study, what studies we need based on the need of the county. Then we would come in and do a study. This is Nick Fox, he's our engineer. And the main thing that we're doing here is the HVAC mechanical. It needs work. One of the problems that you have is that you have no drawings of the piping throughout the building. And so our engineer will go through and make up a drawing that'll be yours. And that's all explained in the proposal, but just trying to cut it short. And they'll lay out all the piping, they'll follow every piece of pipe, and they'll show you where the pipes are going, how the equipment's working, what functions in what areas. I know that you have rooms are hot, rooms are cold. When we was going through, we've been through about 4 different times already, and we found things like there's these things called Dan Voss valves on your registers. We found the one right on the other side here. I can't remember where I was at, but that was turned to 60, and so it wasn't allowing hot water to get down to heat the other offices. So we'll make all the recommendations on what we would recommend to solve that problem, and then also do a water balance, kind of see where you're at with that. The circulating pumps we didn't think was large enough. We'll check into that. He'll check into that as far as, he's the engineer, and he'll check into that. Once we do this study and we present it, and if you move forward with it, we start the study. Then we come back with all of our recommendations and estimated cost to do that. And then we can act as the general contractor, take it out to bid, and then we sit with like Dave and one of you and choose the right contractor based on not just price, but based on the quality and things that we'll check out from them. We have contractors that we do all over the state, so because we do this every day. So if there's areas within the contract, within the things that we need done, you don't have somebody, we can bring someone in. But we try to stay local, try to get some local help when it comes to contract.
You did that on purpose.
I was gonna say, how do you do that?
And there's different, there are two-way valves and that are in the boiler room that should be a different style valve. So there's a lot of different things that we saw just doing the walkthrough. So that's what we'll identify in this study. So the study covers all of that. In addition to the generator.
Oh, look who just moseys back from lunch. No, I'm not in charge of that. So, see ya. So, yeah, Val.
To give you an estimate on what it would cost to put a generator in here. I know that there's issues there because of where the gas comes in, the electrical, but our engineer will take care of that also and give you an estimated cost on doing that too. So, and then in addition to what I've done my whole life is security. So, we'll look over your security as far as your access control and cameras and make any recommendations there that we feel need to be updated or added to in addition. So that's basically a nutshell. Do you have anything to add, Nick?
Yeah, the only other thing is we'd take a look at that air handling unit. That's
Oh,
kind of
yes.
having some malfunctioning, and then we'd also throw a cost at heading cooling.
Yeah, doing it, and for the entire building too, so.
What about hazardous materials? You guys do anything with that?
Well, for example, like, to give you an example, Glavine County, we did Glavine County, we removed asbestos. Replaced all their boilers, their chiller, all their lights to LED. So what did you?
Asbestos is what I was
Okay.
wondering about.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was told about that, Nick, the last time that we had met with you, that they do have asbestos in the building, so during and I would let you know that, but during the survey and we could look at that. But we can do that too. We can, we can look at what it would take to get the asbestos removed too.
And some of that would have to be included, particularly if they change pipes or work with the piping, or if you have to cut a portion in the floor, there's asbestos, old floor tile, stuff like that would have to be considered and then abated in the contract type.
That's correct, yeah. We would do that.
Under the notes, there's the statement, any improvements made as a result from the survey to be completed through Granro Enterprises as the general contractor. I just want to make sure I'm grasping that correctly. You would, on anything that you identify, you would require yourself to be the general contractor?
No, we recommend that we do act as a general contractor, like I said, so that we can help you guys through it and get the proper companies in here to do the work.
Then is this written incorrectly or am I misinterpreting?
Misinterpreted.
Be completed through Granro Enterprises as the general contractor. I'm wondering what I am misinterpreting.
Well, and like I just explained, what we've done in the past. If you want me to make a change to that, I can.
I guess it is not in, I recognize what you're talking about and doing, and it's probably something we need to do. But I'm sure on at least one thing in this building, there could be a difference of opinion on which is the best path to go.
Yeah, but you would be the
That's-
general contractor that would sit with whomever has the two different paths and work out who you want bid or why you want it bid. They would be the general
General
contractor.
contractor can also direct, and I don't want to have that happen.
That won't. No, that's what I said. We'll meet with Dave. Hey, Dave. I'm sorry, Bill.
Sorry.
And to where we'd sit with you guys and you make the final decision, not us. You make the final decision on who you want in here, but we're gonna give you our recommendations.
He probably would be a great general contractor, because you know, A's connected to B, B's connected to
That's-
C, and so on. So I
Karen just wants
respect
to
that.
be sure that for this cost, we own this information. We do
You
it
own
as
this
we want.
information.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
not,
You own this
there's
information.
no, yeah,
When we bring you the information and we sit with you and go over everything, it's yours. The drawings are yours. You'll now have drawings that show
You do it
all of
on-
your.
On CAD machine or, aren't you, you're transferring it to a CAD.
Yeah,
the
somewhere's
piping.
in here it said that.
we don't want to sign a contract that says that only you can be the subcontractor after you, that's the end of, that's the bottom line. So,
Okay.
okay, well, that's good. Dave, you got any input for this?
No, I just think it's a good thing going forward as we get into the bigger projects. As you probably heard, Iosco County is doing a similar thing to their buildings. They're looking at getting bids on theirs for the same thing, because once you get into the infrastructure of the building, every change we're gonna make forward is gonna affect something down the line. And there's a lot of unforeseen things in this building that we're not quite sure of yet.
The thought process is we can map all this stuff out and save us money in the long run because we know what we're dealing with and not having surprises when we get stuff quoted.
Correct. And that's what we were doing now, is we make one step forward and then we realize something else wasn't done, and then we have to go back and correct that issue.
Which we've run into here before,
Yes.
because we have 60 years of changes. And never been
Changes and
documented or
renovations,
anything,
yeah.
Understood.
Make a motion that we accept the proposal set out by Brando Enterprises to survey our piping and all of our piping.
Yeah.
And come back with a workable plan to upgrade
Support.
the building.
Wait. Okay, conversation time. So are you motioning to just accept the information and make a decision later? If we're
My
gonna,
proposal is if you, I
Go
I
right
think
for it.
go right for it. We've had the literature. We've had an opportunity to, at least I felt that we did, to
This is
review
to
it,
get this done, not to do the work.
to do the survey.
Right, okay, that's like a,
do we have, has everybody talked about where we're gonna find that money?
that's finance.
Oh, I know that's finance, but
Was it originally budgeted for 2022?
I would say no. New to me.
Is there an estimate? Cost
25,000.
estimate?
Right, Val.
I'd say, Bill, I mean, we can vote on it, but in my opinion, to get a table is until we can figure out where this money can come from, because we don't have this in Dave's budget at all, for sure. Well, I'm saying is we can vote on this and well, it's gonna be deadlock probably, but that's my opinion. Anybody else got anything to say?
I was gonna say, is there money available for it? That would be my first question.
No way to know that sitting right here.
Yes.
I'm just because everyone else is doing it. I mean, did you get COVID money?
We did, but we have a lot of other avenues we're looking at using that also, so it's.
Chairman, if I may, I would wish to amend the motion pending report from finance on the determination of the source of funding.
I will second that amendment.
Okay. Any further discussion? Let's do a roll call.
On the amendment.
Yeah, on the amendment.
Small,
Yes.
Brady,
Yes.
Drummond,
Yes,
Thompson,
Yes,
now roll call on the main motion.
Okay, roll call.
Brady,
No.
Drummond,
Yes,
Thompson,
yes.
Small,
Yes.
Okay,
So we're moving forward, but it goes in.
if finance finds money, but I can't,
we recognize you're not saying.
we
it's there.
will see what happens.
Okay.
think this is, myself, this is premature to make this vote, but, okay. We'll figure it out.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you all very much.
Okay, moving on. Next, let's see, 145, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, you want to do your public hearing, Troy?
Might only take about 5
Perfect,
seconds here.
that's what we want.
Mine is the truth and taxation. You guys gotta approve it. It's just so the max we can collect for taxes on truth and taxation. If you don't, there's possibly a rollback. And I'm assuming you don't want a rollback, so the most you collect is 1. So it would be kind of silly if you said no.
Right.
We have to hold this meeting every year because like I was talking, Carolyn Village is one of the places. They didn't have the hearing on truth and taxation and they got a rollback, so they weren't collecting the max that they could. So we have to have this and give me the okay that you can sign the paper and I'm good. If you have any questions.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I would move that we adopt the truth and taxation statement as listed. Would you like it read?
I don't think we need it, right?
If you have questions, you can.
Second, I'll second that. Motion by Brumman, second by Brady. Any further discussion? Okay, let's,
Thank you.
all those in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
Thanks.
Yep. Next. Dennis Smith, Millen Township Supervisor.
Good afternoon. You've gotten our packets that the clerk had put in your packets.
Yeah, we should have here.
Anybody else wish to see the packet that we're going to be speaking on today? Yeah, I'd like to thank the Board of Commissioners for allowing me to come forth and discuss the help money. That's payment in lieu of taxes from the U.S. Forest Service that is given to, or had been given to townships in the past to compensate for the properties that there's no tax base on, i.e. the federal service or federal forest grounds. In your packet, you'll see a note, and before I get started, I'd like to introduce my clerk is Kathy Ostrander from Millen Township. Kathy, you stand. And Barb Bartlett, my treasurer, from, you not stand up? Thank you. I just want to recognize these two ladies. They're very instrumental in what happens in Millen Township. They're the backbone of our functions out there.
I've always said the clerk and treasurer.
Well, I'll tell you what, you gotta stick with that idea.
Yes, sir.
All right, and in your packet, the first page talks about, we had brought a proposal to the Board of Commissioners back in November of 2021, and that was a document that we had authored from Millen Township, asking that the previous pelt money from 2018 through 2021 be reimbursed to the township, and also that they would consider reimbursing us for the pelt monies from that point forward. I understand this was an ambitious goal on our part, but again, we thought it would be worth a shot, and it was turned down, and I understand that. It was a very ambitious approach by us, but I understand how it affects the other townships within the community. But anyhow, we did it, and it was turned down, and I fully understand why. But I am here today to talk about the pelt money and what it is meaning, what it has done for the township, and why we're requesting it now. In the presentation, I was talking about in 2018, the county indicated the pelt money would stay at the county level to support budgeting shortfalls. I understand there was a tremendous backlog of monies at that particular time. in the balance, the county's budgets were not balanced. I understand now they're balanced, but that might not be a true statement, but it's a shot anyhow. I hope it is. In 2022, the budget, county budget improved, and we'll have to agree on that. And of course, we closed the jail down, so that was certainly a savings for the taxpayers and the county board of commissioners. Millen Township, percentage of Pelt monies is very minimal and they impact the Alcona County level budget. I think the entire Pelt monies for all the townships is about $55,000. And again, you look at your budget, what $55,000 impact in it, I don't consider that a great impact. However, move down to the next line, it is a significant impact to Millen Township budget with the loss of that Pelt money revenues, and it's been averaged about $14,000, the money coming to the township, and that represents 17% of our operational budget for our county, or excuse me, our township, and that has had a significant impact on what has happened within our township for the maintenance of the buildings, the maintenance of the park, maintenance of the ball diamond, the caretaking of the cemetery. And there's many projects that were wished to be done, wished to have occurred, and they have not been able to be completed. The Millen Township is currently running a deficit in operation expenses to income. What we're looking at in our budget, and I go back to the previous township supervisor and his board, they were very conservative. They put some money aside, i.e. a rainy day fund, or for emergencies that would occur in the township. With that said, I've got to talk about what we're doing within the township. And we've got three options. As a supervisor, I think we're dealing with three options. Option number one, we sit back and do nothing. And is that a good idea? Not really, because what's going to happen in between 3 and 5 years, we're going to be out of money and we're going to be bankrupt. We're not going to have money to function because we're drawing $3,000 to $4,000 out of that rainy day fund to balance our budget as we go forth. This year it's going to be $4,000. I'm not exactly sure how we're going to close the books for this fiscal year that we're currently in, but we're not done yet. But we are going to draw from that rainy day fund again to balance out this past year. And again, option number one, we sit back and pretend nothing's wrong and we're done in 3 to 5 years. Option number two, I come before the board of commissioners and ask for the Pelt money to be returned, about $14,000 a year. That would balance our budget and we'd have a little bit of money to put in our rainy day fund or for catastrophic emergencies that we've had. Option number three, and this is one that no one likes to talk about, is go before the voters and ask for an increase in our millage. And currently we're at about a $0.5 mil operational money, and we got in a rollback situation from Headley. From 1969, we started out with 0.7%. We weren't at a mill, we're at 7% of a mill, and now it's rolled down to 5, and it's generating about $15,000 for us. Now, that's option number three. And we all know going to our constituents and asking for more money is a difficult situation. It may or may not go. So we might be back up to option number one, if in fact the Pelt money can be returned to us. We talked about the past supervisor. He was conservative. Again, he put some money away for us. And I wish to continue being conservative in my spending of the township money and our monies within the township. However, we are getting into situations where we have maintenance issues that are liability. This past year, we had a situation in our township park where oak trees had dead limbs in them, and they were above our playground areas and things. They needed to be trimmed. It cost us about $5,000 to do that. We did receive a grant, a local grant out of Alpena that paid about $1,000 of it. I thought we were very fortunate to get that grant. But again, we talk about expense and liability. You know, if we know there's a problem and don't address it and have a liability claim filed against us, we're grossly negligent by not dealing with those things. So that's some of the maintenance issues that we are dealing with. I've got dead trees out at the cemetery. Barb's our sexton out there. I've got limbs hanging over grave sites that shouldn't be there. I've got dead trees standing that shouldn't be there. And if one of those come down on people while they're out visiting their loved ones, we're gonna be dealing with some issues there as well. So. And what are some of the issues that I'm dealing with is maintenance? I've got 2 pavilions, both of them need to be painted. I've got one that's frost heaved and the structural support needs to be dug. The posts need to be dug, re-leveled. When we do that, I know it's gonna need a new roof. We're talking between $5,000 and $8,000 for that. I don't have the money for it. If we tear it down, I don't have the money for that. So I don't have the money. That's what I'm telling you. All right, let's keep going with our yearly increases in the general cost of operation. It outpaced our income. We're again, 1969, we started with 0.7 mil allocated. In 1969, I'll scroll back to 5.5397, generated about $15,000. There's been no additional township tax rolls, nothing there to tax. Wages have not increased for over 18 years for our elected officials. People say, well, that's no big deal. You shouldn't be paid anything anyhow. We all know different because the burden that we place on these folks that are currently in the office is tremendous. They're dealing with taxes. They're dealing with the election issues now that have just doubled in severity or in complexity. It's a tough situation. And again, you say, well, we're the lowest paid people in the county. We don't care, that's fine. But we also talk about who's gonna run for these jobs if we don't compensate our people a little bit better than what we're doing right now. I'm not bragging. I don't like to be bragging about being the least paid township supervisor in the county, and that's nothing I want to brag about, trust me. 65% of Millen Township is federally owned, 65%. That's no tax base coming into us at all. Again, it's coming to the Pelt grant, it comes to you for your distribution. And I understand why that hasn't happened. Federal lands, we talked about this, the 3rd page in, it's just a diagram of the township. And the 4th one is the federal Pelt distribution. And you'll see we started in 15 with about 13,000, 18, it was up at 14,000. And 19, 20, and 21, we estimate it was $14,000 to $15,000 that we would have received, but we did not. Not going to bore you with much more. I'm going to close. I'm asking that you restart the Pelt money distribution back to our townships. I'll speak for the other townships that are also involved in this, because you certainly couldn't give it to me and not give it to them. That wouldn't be right. We understand that. And we'd ask that you continue your support for the townships. And we're not asking to have the funds returned for 19 or 2019, 20 or 21. And again, thank you for your support for the townships. And if you have any questions.
This is a hard question on top of your head. If you don't know it, what is your fund balance right now approximately?
Art, did I?
I'd be 2020 audit.
No, our general fund.
And I can understand if you're not prepared. for that question.
Other
Yeah.
taxes. Yeah, but then deduct ARPA from that, so.
No, I was a question of, you talked about the rainy day, and that's
Oh,
probably
carry
in reference to your
forward.
fund, yeah, the carry forward,
It's-
yeah.
We're about 70 to 80,000.
You have 78, okay.
But in our budget plan for next year, we've got to, on paper, bring in 20,000 from the prior year balance. To balance
Okay.
our line
So you
item
budgeted
budget.
20,000 in from your last,
From-
from your balance.
Yeah,
I understand.
yeah.
Okay, and that's a 30-year savings roughly. Ish, yeah, okay.
Did I understand that you indicated you brought in money from a prior reserve? What was that, about 20,000
From the current budget for this coming fiscal year,
from prior years?
oh, we've
Couple
got,
on there.
10,000.
I don't see it listed as a general revenue. property taxes, your state grants, your interest and other of 479, but your net change, and I haven't researched it far enough, your net change was an increase of $19,900. This is your last audit, 2020 audit. So,
The only reason I asked the question is this. If you're sitting on $120,000, if a township was sitting on $120,000 of previous savings from not used before and coming forward to ask, literally 10 years of operation.
Our current general fund is about 112. Our prior year balance coming into this year was only about 80 something.
Okay,
Okay, and I will have to bring about 10 to 15
I see.
forward to balance this current year.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay,
Yeah.
that should cover. Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Yeah.
Okay,
So if that continues on for the next 3 years, you're out of fund balance. There you are. Yeah, okay. Okay.
That's what I say, and that's what she says, and I
No.
stick with what she says.
I know, yeah. Like I said, I was a township supervisor, so I feel where you are. Okay, all right, that's the questions I have. Anybody else have questions?
No, just feelings, I guess, not questions.
I like feelings too.
Well, you're indicating that you have some fund balance that you're going to be using in the next 3 years, and you've received that through scrutinizing your budgets and saving what you can. To me, that's good policies, good way of governing your township, and you shouldn't be punished for it. So therefore, the PILT money comes to you because the property is in your township that you're talking about, the national forest and so forth. It's not, it is in the county, but it is, if we didn't have any forest, we wouldn't have any PILT money coming, period.
And that would be taxable base such as Elkhorn Township that
Correct.
they've got. tax
And the
dollars.
city of Harrisville and some, they have nothing, they don't get anything. But you guys have it, and it is quite a large chunk. Mankato has it, and they have quite a large chunk. My thing is that I think we should at least discuss it, because it was removed for a purpose during my time, whatever. Now it's time to look the other way. It may not come leaps and bounds. You may not, I don't know if we can convince everybody to do a 50% back again. But if we could just continue to talk and try to get some movement the other direction, it may take 2 years, it may take all this, I don't know, but we need to talk about it. And that's my feelings, is that this is good, this is information that we can work with. And Carrie's been doing a real good job of explaining the pros and cons. So it's just, again, just thoughts.
we have deferred maintenance that needs to be done. We were watching the money and the carry forward balance into the next fiscal year.
And you can't carry it over, continue to carry it over without something falling apart.
Right, but we still have these things we have to maintain, and
how much of your ARPA money have you said, are you directing towards this maintenance?
Carol, excellent question. The ARPA money is, we've got it set right now. Again, we have not made a decision on it, and I don't think you have as well.
No.
One of my major concerns and one of my focuses was on the broadband situation, trying to get information technology into Millen Township. So our students that, as we all know, that COVID thing went through, shut our schools down. And all of a sudden, kids didn't have the ability to communicate. Well, they said, well, go on home and connect at home. Well, there's a little news flash for some of the people in Elkhorn County. Not every parent has the communication ability in their home. So the kids, I know someone in Barton City that did not have any ability. And I'll tell you, one of them dropped out of school now, and the other one's not going to school. So we are generating a problem, and it's a problem for Mr. Weichel, it's a problem for what I used to do, and it's a problem for the totality of our community, because if we have more people on a social role receiving social aid because they didn't go to school, don't know how to do anything. I mean, this thing is just boiling around. It's just going around and around. And anyhow, to answer your question, the ARPA funds, I have not identified them to go in and take care of the pavilions and the maintenance issues. I was hoping to identify and roll it in through some type of technology piece that we'd be able to maybe work together with the board and other townships to maybe increase our ability to provide that service. Like pavilions, we gotta tear it down or fix it, because as my constituents say, it's an embarrassment to the township. I said, I agree with that, and I don't have the money to fix it right now. And,
But those are important also because they utilize your youth,
well, that's correct.
get your youth active,
That's right.
and that's important.
Yeah, and if you have a pavilion in your township park that is, I use the word ugly or appears it's run down, it's treated that way. You know, it's broken window effect. If you see one broken window, you keep breaking the windows. So if I have a park that looks run down and dilapidated, people don't go there. So, but anyway,
What, Cheryl, what is the date that we make the payments to the townships in the past? Do you know, is it end of year, beginning of year, middle-
Generally the end of the year,
end of the year,
or the beginning of the next. the
or
following
beginning
year.
of the following?
Said it was in February, didn't it?
January.
The last
February,
one we made
depending,
was
yeah.
in February.
I wasn't aware that any of the information.
No, and I'm asking for off topic, I not for.
We did a few that were,
But if we don't make the payments till later in the year. I'd like to propose, I don't want to let this die. I mean, it's important to you, important to all these townships. And I don't, it's not kicking the can down the road. It sounds like it, but it's not what I'm doing. But I'd like to have Dan here and voting and they take you back at the 1st of April or somewhere in that neighborhood. Somewhere in April, and then we can all as a board, because I got a feeling today we'll have a deadlock and it's gonna be weird. So, but if we get Dan back and get a good decision, you wouldn't have received the money yet anyway, you know, so we have a little bit of time before that payment's gonna go out. So I'd make a motion that we table this until Dan returns for a vote, so he can vote.
what are you tabling?
I'm not tabling, I'm just saying a motion to, I don't know, the most friendly, do it.
You have to have a motion on the floor to table.
Right. I guess what I would ask is patience one more time. If we get Dan back in it, because the money is not coming, you wouldn't get paid until later in the year anyway. And if we could have Dan back as a voting member, which is gonna be very soon, and we could address it then. And I would invite you to come back and talk to us at that time.
I'd be happy to come
You
back
okay with that?
with a presentation and I would have, if I need additional numbers and figures, Carolyn, to help you a little bit. Is there anything else you want?
I will tell you, when we stopped paying it.
You got the history on the there on that issue.
When we stopped paying it a few years ago, I ran the comps on every one of the townships that we have, not through the village, I did that through the city. And I knew what we were losing at the county, that what we were diving into our reserves. Every township but one had, and I went off of the state audits. One was an old audit, and it was like a 2017 was there. Why don't they have a current audit? They didn't, I couldn't find it anywhere. Anyway, all of them had a +5 or more. That was the lowest one. Revenue increase in fund balance over the prior year. And we were negative. We were the opposite direction. And at that time, it was like, they're holding their own. Some of them were at a 12–15% increase in their fund balance. I said, my God, the county's really in, we're hurting. And not that we're in that good a shape right now by any means, but anyway, so that was why my vote was the way it was 4 years ago, whatever it was. 4 years ago. So, and that's why I looked at both your 2018 and your 2020 audits. I wanted to see a picture.
Are you comfortable with what you saw? Not really. 'Cause I'd like, if you're not, I'd like to sit down with, one-on-one with Barb and myself and have you go through
I
our,
would be happy
so
to
we
do that.
know, so you know what we're dealing with, because
Yeah, and
the
I'm
way
not
it's
doubting
explained to me,
at all.
and the way I'm looking at the numbers, in 3 years, if we continue with this
Uh,
pull forward,
Believe
pull
me, I
backwards,
get
it's, we're
Yeah.
done. You know,
Yeah.
and then it becomes a burden on the board. So you don't want a cemetery and park and collecting tax dollars from the township.
Fix up those ballparks before you give them out.
I'll do my best. Anything else?
Thank you so much.
Thanks, man.
All right, thank you.
This is good info. Appreciate your effort.
All right, thank you.
You made a motion, right?
I didn't make one.
You didn't make a motion.
I suggested, I asked if he could, allow us to wait till Dan got back to.
I would ask this to be put on the agenda for the first meeting in April.
I don't know the official date Dan's back. I can't even talk to her, I'll have to wait till-
How about if I asked it to be put on the agenda for a meeting in April?
Sure. Okay, speaking of Dan. Hey, Dan,
Hey, yeah,
talk to us a little bit about Corner Township stuff.
all right, well, yeah, hi, everybody, and that was a very good presentation by Millen Township. I enjoyed listening to all that. As far as Alcoa Township goes, you guys already took care of really at the beginning of the meeting on that vote, but I have been in contact with Marlena, the township supervisor, a number of times. I did not know she was having surgery, and now she's not in town right now. But this Michigan Community Resolution and intergovernment agreement to manage floodplain development for the National Flood Insurance Program, and Alcona Township's asking Alcona County to be the administrator of this. I mean, I've been online. I can find the 2012 maps. Marlena said she would get me the new maps. I haven't received them yet, but honestly, there's a lot more research in this. I talked a little bit to Tom, our prosecuting attorney. I mean, this is, I don't know. I'm afraid of this. I just don't like it. And I don't understand why some of our other townships that border Lake Huron or our streams and rivers haven't come up with the same thing. I mean, I just don't know where it's coming from. I haven't got great answers. But we definitely got to do more research on this. I'm trying to do the best I can to get all the information. I asked Marlena to get the maps to the county building, asked her to send them to me. But we need to, that's my opinion, we need to research this a lot more to find out really what's going on. We got a lot of taxpayers that when I read this and that this could affect and how it affects, and we're not a policing agent for FEMA as far as I'm concerned, the county. I don't know where that's coming from, but that's my opinion. Go ahead.
Is that when this surfaced about 2 months ago, I asked about the maps, and my concern, grave concern, is the responsibilities that it puts on our building department. I'm not ready to, on their behalf, accept those obligations and responsibilities. It just, for me, I don't see that it's reasonable. Now, that's unfortunate for Alcona Township, I realize, but that's a whole new set of rules and regulations. As it is now, the building department goes off of what is approved by a local, what do I want to say?
Yeah, for the soil erosion.
That the applicant has followed the rules and regulations. But now, for the floodplain, they would put that out onto the building department, and I have a huge problem with that.
Yeah, that's my concern also. So I think, we've done the right thing and kind of tabled this thing. Do we find more research? I'm doing the best I can to find everything, but we as commissioners need to get into this a lot deeper before we sign anything, as far as I'm concerned.
It was already signed.
But we created that.
Just before you got here.
Gotcha. See what happened in the late?
It hasn't been mailed correctly, correct?
No,
I didn't hear that.
It was mailed,
It was mailed?
Marlena.
but a notice needs to go out tomorrow that says by board action, that has been negated and is null and void at this point.
Is that
Okay.
possible, Tom?
Okay, any further discussion about this topic? All right, hey, thanks, Dan, appreciate it. Don't forget to mute your microphone. We don't want to hear tropical bands or anything.
We're-
The last time was palm trees in the background. Okay, next up for presentations is Metrics, Mr. Gears.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for allowing us to participate in your meeting. And being a customer with Metrics going on the better part of 3 years. Just to let you know, we've got a couple people on this call to help us. I've been with Metrics for 13 months. I just celebrated my 13 months. Some of you might know or have known Bob Kittle, one of our co-founders. He retired last fall, and we now have a growth equity partner that is allowing us to help grow the company outside of the state of Michigan, but also grow the product. So we're looking at a number of different things to enhance and aid in our product and as customers. We hope you will find some of these potential new tools to be useful. With me today is Kevin Smith. Kevin is our customer engagement manager. Kevin comes to us from Battle Creek, where he was a Metrics user at Battle Creek and also helped Battle Creek migrate to priority-based budgeting. So Kevin's on the customer engagement training side. James Crisp is with us. He's our new account executive for the state of Michigan. He lives in the Detroit area. And I saved the best for last, Linda Kraft. Linda is our director of customer engagement. She makes her and Kevin make what we tell folks and sell folks work for you guys. So she's been intimately involved with the wage and benefit tool. So without any more introductions, is there anything you want to preface for us, Terry, before we start?
If you could just go through your cost and that sort of thing, presentation.
For the wage and benefits, correct?
And what exactly you're bringing forward new to the table?
We're looking at a number of different things on our roadmap. As some of you might know, we also work with school districts. And so the Alcona County School District is a customer, as is the ISD. So there's a number of things. And as we see convergence between municipalities, whether it be at the township, village, city, county level, even at the COG level, economic development is a pretty big, important piece, as well as workforce development. So we're working on getting more demographic information into our system to give you more data points from local from sources, public sources. So the more data that you can have gives you the ability through our performance analytics to be able to have better actionable insight into help managing your resources. Being online here and listening to your conversations gives us a better idea of, we look at the numbers and can provide you with reports and graphs and performance analytics, but hearing how you have to deal with decision-making and what goes into that also gives us additional insight to what's important. So the roadmap that we're developing is going in multiple ways in terms of both the school district and the municipal side. And we're willing and eager to hear if there's additional data points or information that can help make your jobs easier. But some of the biggest things that we're doing right now is helping you compare data from other, like with other townships, millage rates and those types of things, so that we can help you manage the perception and develop a greater sense of trust and transparency in the communities that you serve.
So basically, I mean, I'm trying to streamline this a little bit. NEMCOG isn't offering the service to do a survey of local wages for elected officials anymore. And and you are now approaching us with a package potential to provide the information at a cost, right?
To some degree, yes. As a Munetrix customer, the county does have access to the wage and benefit tool that you've seen in NEMCOG. There's a major factor with the wage and benefit tool is that the information that goes into that Linda will share with you in a moment, is not a publicly available resource that we can just grab and import or upload into our system. So it does require input from the standpoint of the municipality, the user, to be able to have those comparison points. So whether it's within the county and you want to be able to compare all 11 townships, the city and village, with various metrics, with wage and salary and benefit packages, NEMCOG's looking at it with all the counties in NEMCOG to be able to do that. But it does require some input of that data. And there's two ways to do it. We can do it for you at a cost, or we can use our training and professional development for folks to be able to do that on their own and put it into the tool.
So that was the point, Terry, right?
Yeah.
It was
Pretty well said it, yeah.
Okay. All right, go. If you have, yeah, continue on then, please.
You all set, Linda? You're muted, Linda. There you go. Still not hearing you, Linda. I'm not.
Is this 5 or 7,000?
There you go.
Mike, are you able to hear me now?
Yes, all set.
Okay, great, thanks. Not sure what all is going on there. Went through a couple changes of microphones to make things work. So thank you all for giving us a quick few minutes here to share the wage and benefits tool with you. What we shared with NEMCOG is typically, anybody from the county level to all the way down to city and village levels might go out and actually purchase a wage and benefits survey study from other entities, consultants that go out and do extensive studies. These studies can be very expensive, and NEMCOG's been doing a series of surveys where they call out. They have a person who dedicates a lot of time to calling into each county to gather the data. So one of the things that we wanted to share was this tool that was designed in collaboration with the Michigan Association of Counties, actually, to help different levels of government compare the wages and benefits that they're offering for different positions. And so the data we're going to share with you today is actually based around just Sheriff's Department deputies, However, you can use this across the board with all your different departments and all your different positions. We're just going to give you a small glimpse and what we had prepared based on some contracts that we received from NEMCOG was a comparison of Crawford and Sheboygan counties sheriff deputies, but you'll be able to see how you can apply this to your own comparisons as well. So the first thing that happens when we get a contract or there's contracts that you want to compare is, as Mike had mentioned, we can either enter the data for you for a fee, or we can also show your folks how to enter the data themselves. But based on the bargaining unit, they can set up the contract information where they essentially will enter the basic information out of the contract, contract start and end dates, vacation time, some of those different pieces that are shared in the contract. And as you all know, those contracts can be extensively long. They can be 40, 50 pages of text. And so it's really just mining out just a couple of those key pieces. Once that information is entered, then the county, or we can also do that for you, has the ability to enter information for each of the specific positions. For example, the salary rates for the different positions. And again, this is just an example with sheriff deputies, but you could have everything from your fire, your police, your county clerk. You could have your different departments such as DPW and maintenance and etc. all outlined within here. And all of the different positions within those departments outlined. Then we go ahead and enter the various healthcare plans that the counties may offer and all the different benefits that are associated with those healthcare plans. And then the next part is to enter any retiree information that might be different. For example, some counties and some municipalities offer different healthcare benefits for retirees. And then there's also pension information for retirees as well. Once the information is entered, you can then create a comparison report with other counties or other municipalities. For example, if municipalities across your county were to participate, they could compare their information with each other. So in this example, we're comparing other counties, and we're just comparing the sheriff deputy position, but you could compare multiple positions if you wanted to. So basically, we go through and we create a comparison by identifying how we're going to name it and which contracts we're going to, or bargaining units we're going to compare. So we know which positions it is, and then also which position within the contract we're going to compare. And what that then produces is a series of dynamic charts where you can go through and see the different salary differences, for example, how salaries might change over time, the minimum salaries, middle or maximum salaries. So you can change very easily from one area to the next. And any changes in base wage adjustments can be seen next to each other. And remember, this could be multiple different positions in different departments as well. The benefit plans are displayed side by side, so you can see what different counties are offering for different benefit plans. And that would include health benefits, as well as for example, maybe other benefits like uniform allowances or education reimbursement or anything like that. If there's retirement healthcare that's different, that would be listed here, and any pension benefits are listed. And then this system produces a final report. So what you're seeing here is a preview of a final report that is produced and can be downloaded. All you have to do is basically click the download button, and this will download a PDF file that has all of the information we've been looking at on the previous charts, all nicely put together in a very nice, neat report with a table of contents that you can use for your county meetings or to share even with the public or your constituents if you needed to for certain areas of that. It takes just a minute for this to download, so it's going to open up in just a second for me. But as a, as a kind of a summary statement, that is the wage and benefits tool. And this tool itself is something that is currently not part of your licensing package with Munetrics. So here's an example of that report. So you'll see here is the table of contents, and then it gives the head count differences, some different information about the counties itself. You can then go on to see the difference in salary between minimum, mid, and maximum salaries for a given position. And then there's some other, options, things that where there's maybe benefits or bonuses of some kind based on what was listed in the contracts. And then it shows you those changes of salaries over time for minimum, middle salaries, and maximum salaries. And then those healthcare benefits, as well as the retirement healthcare benefits or other benefits that you may offer, and pension benefits, and then wage adjustments over time. So the whole concept with this system, this report that actually comes out of the system, is it would replace very expensive wage and salary studies that are often done by consulting organizations that take several amounts of time, or several months usually to do, because they're interviewing different people, and they're actually going through and looking through the contracts and doing a lot of digging and research information gathering. In this format, we can easily compile all that data, make it easy to look at, easy to read, and easy to prepare for, contract negotiations. Basically, this is when people tend to look at this data, is as you're getting ready to renegotiate your different contracts that you have across the county with the different union environments. So again, that's the version of the wage and benefits tool. And also, while we have you for a presentation, we were just listening for a few minutes as you were, as we were waiting, and you were discussing many different things. I just want to, extend out there that you have access to a lot of data in the system. You are a current customer of ours. You have access to every tool that the system offers currently in your current license, except the new wage and benefits portion that we showed you. So as you go out potentially to do millages or bonds with the community, as you're wanting to maybe look at changes in fund balance over time, we realize today is not the day to take you through that in detail, but please know that all of that information is actually in our system. There are a number of tools we'd be happy to sit down and walk people through how to use on looking at budgeting and forecasting and even different scenarios as to projecting how different increases in cost or decreases in revenues may affect plans that you have, long-term or even short-term for the county. In addition to that, you have a number of other tools in the system, all kinds of financial reports ready to go that you can access, reports about personnel, headcount, public safety reports, crime, crash, and traffic statistics. You have an entire citizens dashboard that you can share with your constituents, showing exactly how things are going, and you can add to this. So there's a lot of levels of data that's available in the system. Currently, you guys use this quite a bit for the revenue sharing reporting that's required by the state. But you also have access to create what's called peer groups. This is great for benchmarking. So if you want to compare your county to another county based on fund balance, expenditures, revenues, population size, or even geographically, you can do it geographically, or even specific counties you like to compare yourself against. You can pick and choose individually. You can then get a whole series of reports that are available to you based off of those different counties that you specifically have chosen to compare yourself against. And then, kind of as a wrap up here, if you do anything with debt, you have bonds or debt that you want to report back to your county on how that's being paid off, we have an entire debt management tool that then allows you to be transparent with the community about how those payoffs are going. There's capital improvement planning tools that allow you to document all your capital improvement planning, include surveys and prioritization pieces. There's even some open checkbook features where if you want to be very transparent with the community about your spending, you can and show your checks written per month and all that, handle FOIA requests, etc. You've got access to that. And there's even custom reporting tools. So I just want to make it clear that outside of the wage and benefits piece that we introduced to you today or presented today, there's a whole scope of tools at your fingertips, and we'd be happy to work with any of you in the county offices or on the county board to, use those tools if you have an interest in accessing that data and using some of the robust tools that are available here.
Thank you.
That are already part of your license. So it's just a reminder. You have all this great tools at your fingertips. If you guys want to, learn more about that, we're happy to help you with that as well, while we're also presenting the wage and benefits tool. So Mike, I guess if they have any further questions, how would you like them to proceed? Any questions?
Any questions from anybody?
So once again, just to verify, NEMCOG is no longer offering to do the service of the wage and benefit comparisons, right?
That's still a discussion, ongoing discussion with Diane of whether, again, it's how the information gets into the wage and benefit tool. And with Diane at NEMCOG, it's a function of whether we do it. And the proposal is for us to do it and do 10 contracts per county for all counties for about $21,000. And then the other option is to train somebody in every county how to put information in, and so that they could do it and maintain it themselves. And that's at about, I think that was right around 8,000 for NEMCOG.
How do you handle, for instance, let's assume that it's October of 2021 and you're processing and working for the 2022 year, but you have a union contract that runs 22, 23, 24. How is that dealt with? Presumably, there would be pay increases or modifications on benefits during those timeframes. How is that reflected, or is it reflected? Or do you just wait and correct it? Not really correct it, but change it for the next year? How is that process?
That's a great question. So there's two different places in the wage and benefit compare. You could potentially, we could create like potentially a new contract, basically, under this contract data with those changes in effect. And then you could actually compare the old positions to the new positions. That's a use case that has not come up yet, but that would be potentially an item where if you're anticipating certain changes, we could create, you could have like the previous, say county court contract data in there, and then we could also enter, like what the anticipated county court contract data would be with the different salary increases. And, you could then kind of see that from the wage and benefits compare. If you want to see how that's going to impact your overall budget, that's where we would actually take what those anticipated increases are from an overall budgeting standpoint. And depending how detailed, how granular that is, if it's something that's a little bit more just kind of like over the top, we think it's going to increase by 2.5% or 3%, generally speaking. And we want to see what the forecast for that over 5 years is going to look like. We have a forecast tool that we can use that we could actually take your current budget and use the forecast tool to then project out for 5 years, the budget projector to project out how is that change to maybe just those particular areas of salaries going to affect your 5-year forecast. If it's a little bit more granular, where you're saying, well, we're expecting a 2% change with this group of people and a 5% change with this group of people, then we have an entire scenario builder that we can use to basically start to, it downloads in Excel initially. We can then map out those changes in the scenario builder, then go back and we have that results in an upload file. We can take that, go back and upload that data into Munetrics and create basically a workbook with those projected changes. How would that impact the overall budget for the next year, basically. So it's kind of a combination between the two based on what you're looking for as an outcome, basically. If you're just looking for that wage and benefit information, then we could look at that within the wage and benefit tool. If you're looking at something broader as to how that's going to impact the overall finances of the county, then we can use some of our budgeting tools that you already have to help with that.
You can also use it on the revenue side. So again, granularity, if you thought your dog license revenue was going to go up $200 a year for the next 5 years, you could incorporate that in. So it's not only expenses, but also revenues. So where you might think or feel that you might have the increase in revenues, that could be all factored into those tools. So you have an accurate picture of what your fund balance is going to look like. And then if you really want to get into some things like prior discussions, with your fund balance maybe decreasing, you can go out, look at what you want your fund balance to be in 3, 4, 5 years, and we can map out what your expenses should be based on the assumptions of your revenues.
A couple more questions, if I may. Say that we have, through documentation that you have obtained, it demonstrates that we have an individual at $20 an hour. No, yeah, $20 an hour. And the documentation that you have shows that they are receiving a $2 an hour increase for the next 4 years. So they end up at $28. What documentation, if I go in to this program, what documentation and what is it going to tell me about that position?
Yeah, there's 2 pieces with that. First, again, it would be, we would relate it back to a department or a contract. So if this is a non-union contractual piece, we could actually make this a department instead. And then one of the things that we can do is we have the ability to upload documents within this sort of contract or department level. So if you had job descriptions or you had specific, if it's the contract itself, if it's a union position or something, we can actually upload those specific documents right here so that that information is accessible. And then as you drill into a contract or a department.
You're not sharing, Linda.
My question is,
Yeah.
when I go, if we're starting at the the $20 an hour now, I know what that is.
Yeah.
I know what FICA is here. I know what my social security figures are going to be. And let's assume for a moment they do not change, because they don't change very much ever.
Sure.
Are you going to have some place on that? And let's say that we know what our retirement cost is on a percentage basis. Is there some place without digging that is going to surface easily for me?
The change, say over the 3 years of the contract, would be listed in the salary adjustments.
But does it give me the?
Whatever information is put in, Carolyn, is what's coming out.
Yeah, it's, but so like if you're like, okay, they're gonna have like a $2 raise over time.
Looking 20.
That's
21 increase. 22 is going to be another $2 increase. You're going to see that on the different years.
I recognize that, but I've got to pay other expenses based on what that salary amount is. Will I compute those, or is that going to compute
Are
it?
you talking about the taxes and the FICA?
Yes.
They're not, that's not what this is. This is the wages and
It is
benefits.
strictly wage, not the
Wages and
wage package
benefits.
cost, but the
No.
wage.
Unless you want it to be, I'm sure they have a module in there. that
If I
can't-
may have one more question, what is for non-salaried, for non-union contract people, what is your
Yeah.
source getting their pay rates, their salary rates?
the county itself, or I should say the municipality itself. So you would provide us with what the salaries are for those folks, and we would list it as a position with the salary next to it. So let's say you had a county manager or something, and that was not a unionized position, we would basically we would create a maybe non-union employee section here. And then within that non-union employee section, or maybe there's, a management and then a base level employee that's not unionized, we would have all those different non-union positions listed, where then, and again, we don't have to fill in all of this. If there's just one salary, let's say there's not a minimum and a maximum range salary, it's just one salary, we would just put the one salary in there for those folks.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And thank you for bringing up the FICA and the tax piece. Like, how does that change over time? I wrote a note down for that, for something for us to look at, to consider that in the future for where we might be able to report out on that too.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
If Alcona County chooses not to participate in this, what information do you have that would be provided on the website as a comparison? And would we be able to access the wage and benefit tool or not? That's a service, it's an extra module, you're saying? The wage and benefit tool is an extra module that we would have to pay a contract for?
Correct. And I'm not sure, Mike can speak more to the details about how how NEMCOG's looking at that from whether who's paying for that basically. But as far as your current licensing with us, you have everything in the system except the wage and benefits tool. The wage and benefits compare is an add-on. So you have what's called our premium license, which gives you access to all of the I realize I'm showing you Crawford County, but in Alcona County, you have all of the tools on the homepage. Plus you have all of these apps across the bottom, except this wage and benefit tool. So that this is an add-on to our premium license, but you already own everything else in Unitrix. So if there's anything we can do to help you guys, please feel free to reach out to us with your current license too.
With NEMCOG being a customer and you being a customer, there's things that we can look at with potential grandfathering that wage and benefit tool into what you're using. So again, what my emphasis would be is not the tool itself or the cost of the tool, because we would want to work with you with that. And again, the add-on is a minimal charge if it becomes a charge. It's really how the data gets into the system for comparability. And that's the one difficulty anyone who is doing any wage and benefit comparison has. It's very labor intensive. So I know talking with Teresa at NEMCOG, she's getting spreadsheets from all the different counties and they're changing headers and stuff. And that's one of the reasons that Diane was so interested, is if it could be put into a central repository and you could actually do performance metrics like we do instead of having a PDF, then there's some benefits to being able to have that information. And I think if depending, we could, Kevin and Linda could help you, but just in our financial modules, finding a particular, in your chart of accounts, you might have a county clerk with a salary in there. We can do some things looking forward looking, where you could put those increases into the system, and that wouldn't even necessarily be part of the wage and benefit tool. That could be done in our financial tool, just for you to look at the effects of what it would do for like your general budget and those types of things. If that was if there were 1 or 2 or 3 factors, let's say wages went up $2 for this particular salary, in your, what you would find in your chart of accounts, whether it's a percentage or money amount, and then look at your FICA and also look at retirement. Those functions are all part of your chart of accounts that forward looking, we could add either a percentage increase year over year for 3, 4, 5 years, or a specific dollar amount that you might think would be the appropriate to do that types of scenario building.
I was just curious but we wouldn't be able, and I'm wondering if the wage comparison that's kind of what this was about, was it?
Yeah, I thought, well, okay, and I'm coming into this a little bit sideways maybe, because so NEMCOG, okay, so I think what it is from this point, I think we need to have more talks with NEMCOG itself and find out what their plan is. And then based on their information of what you provided with us today already, we can make a decision on how to, what we're gonna do and what to proceed. So
yes, my last communication with Diane was that after the finance meeting from last month, that it was going to be another agenda item for the NEMCOG meeting in March to consider.
we'll reach out to NEMCOG and we'll have everything you gave us today, which is good information. We really appreciate it. And then we'll get back to you guys and figure out how to proceed. So once again,
thank you for letting us present, and more, thank you for letting us hear how some of the sausage is made. I think it gives us a little more insight of what we try to do to provide good customer relationships. So thank you.
okay, thank you. Guys. Okay, so moving on, we'll go to claims. I'll make a motion to approve pre-authorized claims and open claims presented for payment between 2/16/2022 and 3/1/2022 for check numbers 146,796 to 146,898, and each check number is 1796 to 1806 for a grand total of $114,319.65.
Seconded.
Motion by Brady, second by Terry. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Brumman,
Yes.
Brady,
Yes.
Small,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
New business, we've already talked about the Appointed Township agreement, but we need to go there again. Move into the finance reports. Well, that's me. So, I got a couple things I want to talk about. Number one is, just to reemphasize with the new system of how we are handling, adjustments to your budget line items. If everyone please continue to send your request to the email as indicated in the email I sent yesterday or last week. Finance Committee, Elkhorn County. The whole purpose of that is to streamline, it's flow control, basically. So we're not trying to, because sometimes what happens is if two different parties get the same information, we duplicate the process and it just makes a nightmare when it comes to audit time. So I would just appreciate if everybody stuck to that plan. And number two is I wanted to defer to Cheryl about, do you have some monies we have to move around? He suggested to me an email yesterday regarding, MSUE.
I have not talked to anyone
Okay.
from MSUE. Just there was a change in a termination pay.
Yep.
That was paid out and they need to amend their budget. So they would need to be reached out to find out how they'd like to do
I
that.
will reach out. Okay, great. And I think that's all I have for finance. Oh, go ahead.
Just finance, wish to address the audit folks that were coming in.
Oh, that's not even on this list, is it? Yeah, you're right.
I did.
Yeah, we do have a lot of quotes to review. That would be a good time to do that.
That was my ear.
What do we have for that, Stephanie?
One.
Received from,
Stevenson and Company. I don't think
Okay.
they call it Stevenson and Grayson.
no, I think they broke up.
No,
Yeah.
Stevenson and Company. Okay. Slice right into the, it doesn't have a tier.
Well, I mean, it's fine.
The two, don't-
I didn't realize it was doubled up in there.
It's sealed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I asked for 6 copies and you get 3.
Saving trees.
And we will share.
And then Anderson Tackman, they didn't really submit theirs formally. It was via email. So it was like if they had continued services, if we continued to contract with them, what their quote would be.
Okay.
I have that.
Okay. So. We're prepared to make the thing?
I guess,
You might want to review her.
We might want to.
Let's review it and we'll schedule a meeting to decide. All right.
Can you do a motion to just
we
receive?
need to receive.
Yeah.
We're gonna receive that other than to
So somebody make a motion to,
receive all.
yeah,
I make a motion to receive all bid for the RFP.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All opposed, motion carries. Excuse me. Okay, Steve, what do you got, Bill?
Well, ARPA committee met, and there are two projects that were discussed. One by John to replace all the Wi-Fi access points throughout the county for the net and to connect to the network. The existing ones are running out of life expectancy. He has a quote of $10,772.16. That should fall under the restricted fund side of ARPA. It is part of broadband's like combination. So we recommend that one to come forward and to be discussed and approved the board. There's a second one by Tom Michael. It is a prosecutor's office data management system. It will be connected with Lean and Vine and must meet the criminal justice informational system. And it has to do with electronic data and court system talking back and forth. It is a rather large chunk. He's asking for 75,000. It's 60,000 this year, and then there's a maintenance fee of 7,000 per year afterwards, which we would be and we would have to do it if we accepted it after the 24th. It would be fall back on his budget to maintain it.
Would it have to fall on his budget or could it
The
be
county
shared?
budget, pardon?
Could it be shared with courts?
That I don't know. He said he would come in if I needed him to explain anything more. He felt that it also went underneath the government services part of ARPA. It sounds like the court system is leaning that direction. That will be required anyways. It would be heads up on it a little bit earlier. So the discussion at our table was that it seemed to fit and to bring it forward as something that we could use those unrestricted or restricted funds for. And if any more questions, we can either. First one is the Wi-Fi with John. And that was for 10, a little over 10.7. And then Tom's was 75 for the data management system.
That was the thanks for the visit.
Not,
We don't jump
It's
on
not-
it right away.
no, I think it could go a little bit longer. I think that would give you guys a chance to talk to Tom and have him explain it much easier.
Were the applications forwarded to the board?
I have the applications, make both of them made out in the same form that you passed out.
I just wondered if the board had received those.
The board here, no, they haven't received those. I have.
Yeah, we'll need a chance to review that. Okay. Thank you. I think that's it for me for finance. So moving on to personnel.
I don't think we have any.
Okay.
Yeah, we're still waiting for dates and so forth.
Then the treasurer's report.
It's March 2nd. Township stopped collecting their township taxes on February 28th. Because their season's over. March 1st, everything was turned over to our office as delinquent. We have the information we're inundated with information from townships right now. March 1st, our properties that had been delinquent for a year went into forfeiture. So we have a lot of activity in the next week. We will be preparing the information from the townships who have transmitted their data. We had asked that they get that to us on the 1st. We have 6 townships that have transmitted their information, waiting on a few more. So once that happens, just so you know, we create individual databases for each township and bring their information in and review and make sure that the payments that they have made to the county match what they have on their settlement statements. Review the information that's in the equalization department tax roll in comparison with the townships and make sure that all the changes, the necessary tax tribunals, homestead denials, border review changes, anything that's been done is completed and matches with ours, then we import the information into our tax roll and create our delinquent bills, which starts the foreclosure process. So that's pretty much all we've been doing for the last couple of days. The numbers look good. There's not just kind of a rough from where we are. They're not, taxes have been collected pretty steady and consistent with the prior few years. We did end up with 355 properties that tentatively have gone into forfeiture from delinquency, which is pretty standard for our processes. 355. But we have a new process where the registered thief is going to just enjoy that electronic transmission as opposed to 350 pieces of paper.
Nice. Okay.
Hopefully. That's really all I have. Does anyone have any questions? I think I sent an update in regards to the 2021 budget. There's only a few things that we're anticipating coming in. We're still anticipating some state revenue that will have to be booked back. They had one check in the last few weeks that had to be accrued back, but other than that, the majority, there's only a few fine details that need to be discussed with finance in regards to and the board decisions on how some of the things need to be closed out for the year. So we're good with that.
Great.
I'm sorry, I interrupted. Did anybody have any questions?
Okay, thanks. Rich report.
We did receive the like a reimbursement from MMRMA for the jail towards the property and liability insurance. I actually took that check down to the treasurer's office today. It was about a $9,000 refund.
Okay.
So we've also had a couple of HR issues, but it's not our office and it's not the service provider. It's the third party. Every one of them seems to have a third party that we pay through. And there was an issue with them. Some people had gotten some cancellation notices for their Aflac. Everything is up to date. Everything is good. It's an error on the back end that they're working on. And I looked last week, Trina and I, for the first time ever, were able to attend a quarterly county clerks conference. And there was just a lot of talk about elections and the clerks with a lot of frustration or their concerns. And yeah, they I never seen so many county clerks retiring. Yeah, so other than that, that's about all I have.
Seems like a trend. You're right. Okay, good. Communications, you can go through your packets, have a look. On to committee reports. We'll start with Terry. No, anybody else?
Attended the Department of Health. They seem in good financial shape. They've reaped slightly, and maybe Dan is still, I guess he can. They're in good financial shape. Mass thing is going to be a problem. Or it shouldn't be a problem, it's going to be corrected, hopefully in the future. The veterans, I think we're going to talk about that a little bit later.
No, I think we should.
You want to
Discuss it. This is the time right now.
Okay, there you go, vets.
So,
Go ahead.
so I attended a workshop this morning with those commissioners, and we're talking about possibilities of what to do with for the veterans and get them some different space. And the option of trying to expand on the facilities, EMS facility on M72 and 41, that intersection. It's a mixed feeling amongst the board members, but it decided this morning that we approach MDOT because there's some rules about driveways and how they come out onto federal highways. So we're gonna do up a drawing, and Dan volunteered to communicate with MDOT and just get all that issue cleared up before we try to make any more decisions. But that's kind of where we landed on that. So just beg patience for a little bit longer. You know, we do have some other issues to resolve with housing for staff once the building on 23, once the final decision is made on that by the Forest Service. So that's basically where we landed. So if, like I said, we're going to get with MDOT and find out just what the rules are and what we can and cannot do there. And once we find that out, we'll have a really clear picture of what, if we can use that. And we should be information together in the next month or so here, at least.
Well, I'm sure we'll have something by next meeting.
Could be, but I'm trying not to put a time stamp on it.
2 weeks. I would.
It could be, we could have something that should. But there was a lot of discussion about it and different ways to handle the problem. So, but it was decided that we explore further the potential. No decisions finally made in this exploration. So,
Well, it sounded like we were on board to go forward looking at the EMS as a possible location.
right,
I mean, the majority of the board said yes.
right. But we need to, there's some couple caveats we gotta figure out
Yeah,
first.
each step has to be followed.
Yeah.
And it's gonna take a while. Like, it'll be fast, it's gonna take a while.
Yeah. So that's my committee report too. How about you, Bill?
Well, I went to road commission. They've done a lot of unfreezing culverts and snow removal, as we all know. They're concerned about the gas tax and the future of electric cars because they don't use gas, and therefore the amount of funds that they would be normally receiving is or could be reduced. So they're working with the liaisons at the government level to try to get some other rules and regulations that would allow a tax to go to the electric charging units of some sort. They have no idea how yet, but if it all moves to the 2025 type year when you supposedly electric cars are floating all around, that the gas tax would be reduced and therefore their funds would also be reduced. So they're concerned about that. The library is going to be visiting us soon. They are attempting to become a district library with Curtis. That's a standalone entity. It requires motions and changing of ownership, you might say, but they're pursuing that. They think it was a 3-1 vote over there, that it would be beneficial for the libraries in general to become a district. There's pros and cons. They do have a lawyer out of, I believe, Lansing, that is guiding them to become a district library.
So they would be in charge of all their own
They
payroll and
would,
everything.
everything from top to bottom, insurances, retirement, all that stuff. They would have to do this. It was a big step. If they do it, if they don't get the funds from their expected revenue line, then they're lay off or shut down, et cetera, because they would no longer be on the umbrella of the county, right? So that's a big issue for them to go through. One of them was, one individual over there was not ready to take that step yet. They're still working on it. We had a courthouse security meeting, and evidently these are ongoing discussions, but the active shooting and fire extinguisher training is still on board to happen. They're still looking into panic buttons. There's a push to get the AED and first aid CPR classes back up and running again. They're looking into heavy duty glass, plate glass, whatever, for this clerks and treasurers areas, trying to figure out what would be the best, because it's real expensive. You start putting that kind of glass. So
Are we talking about bulletproof?
Well, it would be,
Heavier.
let's call it restricted to some. I'm not sure how they would do it, but they checked it out on a little bit on one piece was super expensive just for one panel. It might have to be where you close things down and only open one window or something. So that's on their agenda. They will be bringing something to the ARPA funds for, the sheriff has got some things that he wants to try to see if it will fall under ARPA funds for it. And then, of course, we had the workshop this morning. That's it.
Steve, when, if so, when does the ARPA committee anticipate reaching out more into the community?
At this point in time, we've sort of stayed very, very restricted. We've kept it pretty much projects within. I did read an article yesterday in the Alpena News that one of our northern counties had set aside $150,000 for grants for their small businesses, maximum of $8,000. So the person would have to apply for it and then reviewed, and then they could get up to 8,000. The way they worked it out, that they could do like 31 businesses at that $8,000 bracket. I hope that when we move forward from our first initial projects that we're doing, that we seem to meet the criteria that we move into that arena. But as far as time, no.
The business arena?
This is
What about the
arena.
nonprofits?
We haven't crossed those bridges yet. We haven't. We wanted to stay slow and make sure that everything that we call a project meets all the requirements, so we don't have to be spend the money and find out that it doesn't meet the requirement somewhere along the way and have to pay back the fund. So rather than jumping around and running out there and giving money away all over the place, we're doing it one thing at a time, and it may be slow, but hopefully we'll be able to keep the funds as we use them.
Thanks. Carolyn?
211 is normal doing review of bills and approving. 911 meeting, pretty much routine. There is key training that's coming up, classes that are going to be starting. Do not have a specific date yet. They also talked about perhaps trying to see if they could put something in the schools in the senior year, maybe an hour or 2 hours a week through the senior year or junior senior year, that would help an individual to come out and be perhaps an EMT, or certainly some degree or level of community involvement towards being in the response situation. Also, it's sort of like board concurrence, not necessarily approval, but concurrence. I have saved all the signature documentation almost 4 months past what we were required originally back in 2020. We were told to save those documents for a year. And as I said, I've gone since the time they stopped requiring them. I've gone 4 months past that, so I've gone 16 months rather than 12. They really would like to speak with patients.
This is signatures for.
Signing in every day, saying I took my temperature, or whatever.
Oh, the requirements passed. Right. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Anything else? Okay, then we're down to the last section of public comment. Give it 5 minutes, identify yourself and your township. Gary.
Gary Rupp, Mitchell Township. I wanted to address this board concerning their health requirements. Basically, I'm struggling with the attitude of, people worrying about how these townships are budgeted or not budgeted. What you're basically talking about is property that they have no tax revenue ability to get. And I remember this board had dealt with this in the past few years. And the pain was supposed to be equally split over those that were getting FOP money, because that was money that the board could take along with removing the school resource officer. but due to the complaints that they were getting, we kept the resource officer, but one district basically got hit with the PILT money removal. To me, it's not just that state compensation cannot be touched, which, you know, at that point, from what I remember, Elkona and Greenbush were the greatest recipients of that. But, you know, it seemed that Millen, Mitchell, and Mankato and Curtis got hit the most by having the PILT money taken for them. I think it needs to be reconsidered on the fact how they manage their budget should not be a point of consideration. What should be a point of consideration is that property they have in their township that is nothing but becomes a burden to them, especially if they have fires or issues of that nature. They still have to take care of that property that's in their area with the roads and everything else. So I think, personally, I think you need to just say, look, this is it, and come to some other conclusion as to fixing the revenue situation. And that's all I got to say.
Thank you. Next.
I want to follow up on the PILT also, going by the handout that Supervisor Smith said. Back in 2018, 2019, when it was decided to keep the funds at the county level, those of you who were on the board at that time, was it specifically done because the county had a shortfall and you had decided that you needed that money that time? If so, and if the county is balanced budget now, then I think they have a very strong case that that can be rescinded. Or was there other reasons? Was it that you thought they should raise taxes on their own citizens, or they were using PILT funds to pave roads or doing road work? I'd just be curious what the reasoning was at that time, and have things changed since then? And it would make their case a little bit stronger if the main decision at that time was that the county needed the money. I guess you'll always need money, but if you're balanced budget right now, that main reason for taking those funds seems to be gone, in my personal opinion. So I'd be curious if there was other reasons. But as usual, and with everything else, I mean, if you all would just be open as to why you made the decision or why you're making the decision now, that would be perfect. For not just me, but for the townships themselves. We think you can raise this money on your own by levying more taxes. However you want to do it, just as long as you'd let us and them know, I think it would be easier for everybody to accept. Thank you.
Thank you. Everybody else?
You want to speak to your,
I was hoping you already did.
I did speak, but you do a much better job than I do on the field house.
I presented a proposal yesterday in reference to the state and local federal recovery funds and relating to software for my office. We have something called ACT, adult case tracking, and JCT, juvenile case tracking. That program was written 30 years ago, I think in Sanskrit, because no one knows how to code it anymore. It is set to fail this year when we move into Windows 11. We will no longer have the ability to generate warrants and understand once we generate a warrant and that information is typed in, we don't have to repeat that information anymore. Meaning if I need to do a subpoena, the information is there. The program pulls it from the initial language. If we have to do an information, it's pulled from it. Constitutional victim rights letters, the information is pulled, and it actually automatically creates the victim's rights letter when you plug in any court action. So when you plug in a court action, it creates the victim's rights letter specifically related to that action. So when that goes, my office is in dire straits. I've been looking and went through 3 different demos in reference to different possibilities. The best possibility is probably an on-base system, but on-base relies on ACT and GCT to operate. Why do I say on-base is probably the best system? Because that is like the Cadillac of systems that counties use, meaning clerk's offices, courts. The on-base system was written by the current company who's writing e-file or my file, which the courts will be going to shortly. The nice thing about Carpel is it speaks with e-file or my file. So what that means, the long and the short of it is, once I receive that information and it's typed in, courts won't have to duplicate it. It will be transferred digitally to the court system, and the court system will no longer have to repopulate for their system. It also has some other benefits. Law enforcement has a portal that they sign on. This is cloud-based. So law enforcement has a portal that they would sign on to, where law enforcement has access. They would upload their reports. They would upload digital evidence to it. It's no longer stored locally, which of course we know is a big problem with the amount of storage we have. Sheriff's talking about body cameras at some point in time here in the near future. That storage is immense. What comes with body cameras are redactions and the ability to redact. This system allows us to redact. It also has something called e-discovery. So the defendant's name is put in, and you check the box as to what you want to send them, whether it's the digital evidence, whether it's a report, whether it's a copy of the warrant information. And you press a button and it's gone. It keeps an audit track. It tells you when it was sent and when it was accessed. So it does a lot of things that our current system doesn't do. That is very, very beneficial. It also creates reports, so we know who's doing what. We will know what crimes are committed where. So it's a system that probably has long been overdue. Currently, we're working with an information system that John helped create, which is really just a shared file system on Microsoft. That system is wrought with problems, but it allows me to go paperless. I don't have to carry files into court. I don't have to look for files, things like that. But we have to scan everything. A lot of times what gets scanned doesn't get into the file. So this system that prosecutors by Carpel or PBK is what it's called. Currently, there are approximately 8 counties in the state that have it. Looks like there's 10 or 12 coming on board because we know that ACT and JCT are going to fail. So that was why I had put in a request.
Do you have a time restraint on that?
50 days. That was 50 days from the 22nd of February. We watched demonstrations, probably 3 that I can recall. And this is the only one that is specifically designed for a prosecutor's office. It's being used in over 500 jurisdictions throughout the country. And it is modifiable to specifically fit our needs, what we can use it for. So I do have access to some online video demonstrations. One of the other things too about the system is it is CJIS compliant, which is the Criminal Justice Information System. So what that means is we have access to lien and talking to lien, which creates our criminal tracking number, CTNs. And we also have access to Vine. It talks to Vine, so it sends out the constitutionally mandated victims' rights notifications to Vine, which victims can sign on and see what's going on with the case. So it does a lot of things that we currently don't have the ability to do. Something they've added to it, which I thought was rather nice, was the ability to email a victim and or text. So if they prefer getting noticed by text, this system does it. It provides a notice by text instead of having a mail, or by email instead of having to send out mail. So it's a design that I think will continue quite a while into the future. I can tell you our association is meeting with them, the Prosecuting Attorneys Association of Michigan are meeting with them on Friday to try and figure out if there is something they can do statewide. Of course, we also tried to contact the courts. Hey, we're all working on this stuff at the same time. Why don't we get on board together? We've not had very good responses from the courts, to say the least.
Now, aren't you glad that he's explaining it the way I did?
Oh, I put a different way on it, sure.
No.
It's ready. We have to do something before May 11th.
Right.
I have to do something, probably April 1 is my cutoff date. It's very likely that the cost will go up after that because of the number of counties that are jumping on board. Grand Traverse County has been with prosecutors by cartel probably for 6 or 7 years now, and they love it. There's 7 other counties. Wayne County just got on board. They're working through the particulars. I know Crawford County is now on board. And of course, most of the smaller counties are using the state and local recovery funds to fund the project. So
You brought up about the body cams that are possibly coming, and that falls back into John's Wi-Fi request to some degree, because without the use of the Wi-Fi, a lot of this isn't going to happen.
We're gonna put a Wi-Fi system that is external, that will be outward facing towards the parking lots, that will allow it when the deputy pulls in, it will upload his body cam or dash cam. Versus having to do it over the.
Well, John sat through a couple of the demonstrations with us, and of course, John would love the on-base system or ImageSoft, but that's not going to function, and that's quite expensive. That's about 200,000, anywhere from 200,000 to $1 million, I think is what they said. Stuff. So Steph sat through it, and so did Jennifer Lewick with the court system. Everybody would love on-base, but
And that's my question, Tom. So how does that work with the on-base? I mean, is it an all on board at once, all or nothing? Is this just going to be implemented basically between first sheriff's department and the prosecutor, and then with the I mean, does that affect the cost?
We're not going with on-base because they don't have a system that specifically services prosecutors' offices and law enforcement. On-base is kind of out of the question just based upon the cost and the lack of functionality. And when I say lack of functionality for my office and law enforcement. The nice thing about a cloud-based system too is that you're able to access it with the appropriate passwords from anywhere. I can access it from my phone. I can access it from my laptop. Wherever I happen to be, I can access it. So law enforcement can also. Typically, when law enforcement is going to access it, they will be uploading reports, so on and so forth. So obviously they likelihood have to be in their office unless they're able to do it with their laptops, which they probably are, but that's well beyond me.
So is this the carpel that you're referring to then?
Yes, PBK, prosecutors by carpel.
I did not sit in on that.
No, it really didn't relate to you.
Right.
It relates specifically to my office, but they do communicate with the e-file or my file system. So once we have my file or e-file, everything will come to district and circuit digitally. You'll no longer get papers. You'll get a digital copy of whatever it is. The nice thing about it is in reference to that, it will populate your system. Meaning you won't have to create typing in all the names and all that kind of stuff. It automatically populates it. So.
But that's down the
When
Should
they,
be in-
when you end up, when they end, the courts end up with e-file.
Okay, because e-file, we're like in wave 8.
Yeah.
They estimated 2024, which means 2028 probably.
Yeah, but any system we're looking at has to have that ability, and this does.
Okay.
Let's add it to new business for the next.
And ACT and JCT, there's been a lot of scuttlebutt going throughout the IT for the county, and it's not keeping up to date, and it has security flaws in it. So,
And it's not CJIS compliant.
No.
They've given us a
so
waiver on it.
it's one of those things of, I think a lot of counties are really gonna start pushing to carpel-like systems pretty quickly.
And if anyone's interested, they have time and want to watch a demonstration of it, I do have access to their video PowerPoints, and of course, the first thing that is on there is they talk about how much money it's going to save us. Thank you.
Anybody else for public comment? Anybody online for public comment? Hearing none. Commissioners, additional comments and concerns?
I have one additional thing.
Go for it.
I don't know how closely you follow DNR's weekly. Things they send out, but I was delighted to read that we no longer have gypsy models.
We don't,
We don't.
we just disappeared.
We now have spongy moths.
Oh.
No longer called gypsy moth, it's called a spongy moth. It's like, there's nothing wrong with them. Gypsy moth, they're not good no matter what you call them.
Okay.
No more gypsy moth.
Anything else?
I forgot to add, I'm sorry, during public comment, I did receive 2 other communications from attorneys in regard to the RFPs for the audit. One didn't do governmental agencies at all, and the other one just wasn't interested at that time. So it wasn't just those 2.
Yeah, we did.
That's all we did, we just proceed.
Okay, then if there's nothing else,
I don't know.
He won't be here.
I can't.
We're all.
Let's schedule that. I can do like. Let me, I'll communicate with everyone. We'll set that up.
I'm not sure I can do six.
Yeah.
I wish, unfortunately, it's a bid.
Okay, meeting adjourned? Meeting adjourned.